Hi, and welcome back to OnePath Cloud. So, in our last demo session, I have shown you about the deployment of TFC agent, and in this video, I am going to talk about more stuff on Terraform Cloud and the workload identity setup. So, let's quickly jump in what we have to do today. So in this video, I am going to talk about some stuff about Terraform workload identity, right? As we have set up the Terraform Cloud agent, so now we wanted to um, create some workspaces in Terraform Cloud, and we wanted to make it able to for the Terraform agent to authenticate with our AWS and deploy the resources in multiple AWS accounts. So that's what we are looking for. So basically, this article I have opened up here is um, on the Terraform documentation about uh, generating dynamic credentials with the AWS provider. So what we have to do with our agent, we have to configure some trust relationship between AWS and Terraform Cloud, and then we have to create roles and policies for our Terraform workspaces. And then we need to pass those roles and variables in our Terraform workspaces via the variable set, so that we will be able to deploy our code using Terraform workspaces. So what this article talk about, or what I'm talking about, I have created a diagram. Let's just check that diagram. So that's the diagram which I have created. So basically I have divided into mm, little components. So on the left side you see we have a Terraform cloud. On the right side we have AWS account. So I am calling this account as shared services account because in this account my OIDC stuff will gonna be there. And on the right side we have accounts in which we wanted to deploy our resources. So in we have already deployed our TFC agent. The next step we wanted to do is set up authentication between Terraform Cloud and AWS. And for that, the number one here you can see number one step is to create OIDC provider in the shared services AWS account. So you can name it anyway, but that's the name I am giving to my account. And what will gonna happen, we will gonna create this OIDC provider in the first step, and then in the second step here you can see we will gonna create this TFC demo project in our Terraform cloud. And in this project we have multiple workspaces. For example, I'm calling this workspace as account 1 workspace because I wanted to deploy in account 1, and account 2 workspace for the account 2. And these workspaces are gonna associate to our Terraform Cloud agent, which we have deployed in last demo. And on the third step, I am gonna create some roles. These are OIDC roles for our workspaces, and we will gonna pass this role ARN in TFC variable set and attach this variable set to our workspaces. So what will gonna happen when we will create roles, and in those workspaces when we will run the plans phase or apply phase, the Terraform agent will gonna exchange a token with our OIDC provider, and it will gonna get temporary credentials to deploy in our accounts, which are here, account 1 and account 2. So how this whole setup will gonna work is basically the OIDC roles and policies. So I will show you in our later demos what this role trust look like, and what policies it has. But for the high level overview, so this role has a policy which is saying assume these roles in the cross accounts in which we wanted to deploy our code. So we will gonna create roles in our deployment accounts. I am saying account one and account two. So this policy will gonna assume this role, and while is our workspace, we will gonna see that our resources, maybe S3 bucket or some other stuff, we will deploy using our workspaces in these multiple accounts. So that's the target agenda we are looking forward to. But for that, we need to first set up some PCs. So last time we have set up the TFC agent. Now in our shared services account, I'm going to set up these OIDC providers. So let's just set up that. So that's the repo I'm going to use for today's demo. I have created it via these names, naming convention, Terraform AWS TFC setup, and under that I have created the modules directory, and under that I have created two modules. One we have already seen in our last demo, so that's about TFC agent. We have seen in our last demo we have used this module to create Terraform Cloud agents, and today I'm going to use this other module I have created, which is called OIDC provider, AWS OIDC provider. So let's just review this module. So in the main.df file, we have only one resource, which is just creating the OpenID Connect provider in AWS account. So it needs three parameters. So one is URL. The URL will be our Terraform cloud URL, or if somebody is hosting self hosting for the Terraform cloud, then we can provide that URL also. What does that mean? If you are using Terraform Enterprise, somebody is using Terraform Enterprise, so they must be hosting it somewhere on their cloud or on their VM. So then the URL will be different. But basically, the URL for free Terraform cloud is same. Then we have to provide the client ID list. So what our audience will be. So in our AWS case, our audience will be AWS, and then we have to generate the TLS certificate, which is creating by this data file. So again, we have to provide this URL for Terraform, and AWS will automatically gonna generate the CA file for this provider. So these are just three parameters and one resource, which is will gonna create the OIDC provider in AWS, and this is the variable file. So let's call this module from our live repository. So this is our live demo repository, and in the main file, I'm creating this module OIDC provider, and this module TFC setup is basically deployed to my GitHub repository, so I'm referencing that. And here you can see I am providing the OIDC provider as default Terraform URL, which is app.terraform.io, and we are setting our audience to aws.workload.identity. So these are just some um, predefined steps to create the OIDC provider for Terraform in AWS. So let's just deploy that. So Terraform init, Terraform validate, Terraform plan. Let's see our plan. It is going to create OpenID Connect provider, which is fine. Has generated the thumbprint list, and this is our URL and audience. So I'm going to apply. So our what is the provider has generated. I'm going to log in into my AWS account, which is shared services account. I'm going to refresh the page. So in the IAM, under these identity providers, you can see the providers which your account have. So our provider has already created for app.terraform.io, and audience is set, thumbprint thumbprint list is set. So that's it for this demo. So we have created our OpenID Connect provider, and that's our first step. So basically, what we have done, we have created the OIDC provider according to our diagram, the number one step. So in the next step, then we will gonna create the TFC project and Terraform workspaces. The setup basically we are trying to do here is, for example, consider a use case where in your organization you have multiple accounts in AWS, maybe for development, for staging, for testing, for QA, and for production. So an organization can have multiple AWS accounts, right? And how to manage then deployments into these multiple accounts using Terraform Cloud. So that's what we are we are trying to solve that problem or that use case. So probably for that organization, they will create workspaces for each of the account, maybe QA and development, and then third workspace for demo, fourth workspace for production account. And from these then workspaces, they can deploy their applications via these OIDC stuff into their respective accounts. So that's the use case, or that's the problem we are trying to solve. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.